Joining us in the studio this time, as he has done quite a number of times throughout 2020, is our legal eagle. His name is Mark Williams. Welcome. You and I have shot the breeze about a number of different topics, and some have been most illuminating. One that's captured my imagination is this current legislation that the federal government is working on, and the one they want to enact to take on the likes of Google and Facebook. And it's all to do with their ability to share information, news stories from all forms of the media in Australia. And of course, they get it free. And that puts an enormous load on this modern marketplace, which used to have a way of doing things and was rewarded for it. Today, it seems to me that these big international players can come in, waltz in, take whatever they need, like pirates, and leave. Now, do you think the federal government legislation has a chance, one, to stand up? Do you think it has the teeth required to get the job done?
I think...
or are we just shooting the breeze?
Look, the big digital media platforms don't consider themselves to be pirates. They consider themselves to be legitimate businessmen in the way that the Carnegies of this world were in the 19th century. They just got there first, and they got very big very quickly. This argument that they're getting their news for free is one thing, but what's more importantly is that they're getting all the advertising spend that used to be spent in newspapers, radio, and we're in an epoch of squeezed budgets and expanding platforms that the free-to-air broadcasters have to maintain. So their costs are going up, their revenues are going down.
But is it pilfering?
Sorry?
Is it pilfering by these giant news platforms?
Well, my own view is that there is an element of certainly copyright infringement going on, and to take them on, there have been various attempts now for about 30 years to do that, to stop the unauthorised, if you like, linking, paraphrasing stories, putting new headlines, using search optimisation to direct things to particular pathways and down others. So pilfering is, at the end of it all, what the existing players, or the rapidly departing
depleting players
are feeling has been going on. They say they're just undertaking legitimate business activity, and that some of these old ones just haven't got with the program. They just didn't get it. They maintain things like, news agencies for the distribution of paper copies.
Mark, that's fair enough, and I can hear where you're going with that argument. But my challenge is a little bit different in that you said they've been fighting this battle for the better part of the last 20, 30 years. Why haven't the sovereign governments right around the world protected all those companies that have worked long and hard, established great credentials over the years? Why haven't they come up and said, we're in America now, this is the law here, and in order to use that material, you're going to have to pay a fee, some sort of licensing fee, some sort of subscription fee. And we're in Australia, we're in Singapore, we're in Britain. You're not going to just come in and take whatever you need with one fell swoop. So why has it taken that long? Is it a case of simply too hard, but let's put it in the too hard basket? Or we've heard that expression, where there's no will, there is no way. So has there been a collective will?
Well, I think the collective will's all been the other way. We've been in this epoch of free liberal economics, as, not just mantra, as absolute doctrine by governments of both the left and the right. Globalisation has been that, buzzword. Suddenly the reality check has come, as you see.
And it bites hard.
And it bites really hard. And those people who should have been on the bridge looking out for icebergs have not been there. They've been down in the stateroom celebrating on the global caviar that's been flowing through, and not realising that huge amounts of money has been pouring out of Australian pockets into advertising centres and profit centres that are not taxed, or not taxed nearly enough. And everyone, including government, is suffering, and the capacity of government to keep delivering services that taxpayers want is getting eroded. So it's taken a while for everyone to wake up that this is not just a battle for the hearts and minds of 20-somethings. It's actually the future, and it bites right down deep into how government revenue models work.
Knowing these big platforms as we do and seeing how they behave, do you think they'll just shore up their platforms and twist the algorithm left or right to navigate a whole new pathway?
Well, that's actually in the legislation that algorithm changes have got to be notified within 14 days. And the tech platforms are fighting back on this on the grounds of trade secrets, on the grounds of all sorts of legitimate concerns that they might have and competitive concerns. So that's a funny one that at least someone in the Department of Communications and someone in Treasury and someone in ACCC has worked out has got to be stopped. So this is why this legislation is actually groundbreaking. It's world first legislation. New York Times has said, good on you.
Wow.
The Treasurer has made no bones in a media release last week that this is just going to apply to Google and Facebook for the beginning. Facebook and Google have both mounted world challenges back on this. There's a complete Google page with blogs going day after day at the moment about this, and some sophisticated economic analysis that's going with it, where originally Google came out in August and said they only get about $10 million from the news feed.
Correct.
Last month they just said, but we're putting up 1.38 billion for a global news fund to work with existing news operators. So, how did 10 mil turn into an expenditure of 1.38 bill? Big forces at work here.
Big forces at work. Do you think we have something substantial enough to see some change? Will it bring change? Or is this still too early? And is there much more that will be played out before we see a judgment come down?
Well, the thing's been flicked into a Senate inquiry.
Okay.
And
who makes the decision? Who will make the decision?
So it'll be the Parliament.
Okay.
Obviously, the government of the day will need to get the numbers through the Senate. But the Senate's called for submissions until the 19th of January, and then they're going to hand down their report on the 12th.
Wow.
And that will, and that will probably pretty swiftly lead to the legislation either getting kicked into the long grass or going through.
So there would be some serious lobbying going on right now?
Very serious lobbying. I mean, it'll be fascinating to watch the submissions come in from Facebook and Google and everyone else who's involved in this. There will be, I'm sure, some international submissions coming in. And, there might be the attempt to put the odd horse's head in someone's bed on the way through.
That turn of phrase just puts a smile on my face, but there are some very serious matters that need to be addressed and will be addressed. And we want to get you back into the studio bright and early 2021.
That'd be fantastic.
And see not only what you've made of the manoeuvrings behind the scenes, what you will have made of what the Senate comes up with, and what form the legislation is likely to finally look like.